Is Loan Miley the future of Newcastle's midfield? And can Newcastle United qualify for the Champions League? Find out right here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Brilliant from Shea. And now Murphy could take on the shot. Fabian Shea away.
All right, folks. How are you all doing? I hope you're having a blessed evening and a blessed day. Oh, already really leaving my slideshow a bit too quick, but I hope you are good. I've got so much exciting content I want to be able to talk to you guys about today. Loan Miley, we're going to be talking about him. Is he the future of Newcastle's midfield? And we're going to be taking doing a player profile of him, but also a player profile of a couple other midfielders, young midfielders who could also come into Newcastle's midfield. We're going to be talking about Newcastle's squad depth as a whole by using Loan Miley's story that we're going to be talking about today. So I'm really, really excited about that. But first and foremost, we're going to give a match reaction to the Aston Villa game, and we're going to do a little bit of a Champions League race prediction, and I've put it in the chat. There's a little activity that I got blessed with, shown by Bobby Fairview. You guys know that he's a regular goer on this channel, and he's given me this. He's shown me this Champions League table predictor thingy that you get to all kind of be a part of. So it's an activity for you guys to be able to predict which teams can get into the Champions League. And I've put the link, I've put the website into the chat. So guys, do log into it. The site is safe and all that. It's nothing crazy. But it's I'm gonna give my own kind of prediction as well whilst I'm doing the show. So guys, folks, if you've got time, do log into it. Let me know where you've scored, essentially where the Newcastle end up, where the other teams end up. Do let me know. So like I said, guys, I've got a few things and I'm really, really excited about the show. I really am keen to get you guys' views on Loan Miley, on Newcastle's midfield, and our squad depth and our future. But first and foremost, I'm also really keen to get you guys' views on match reaction to the Aston Villa game. Like I already said, my camera acting a little bit funny, a little bit weird, but we'll get there in a moment. In fact, my life is a bit different. It's going to get a bit fuzzy. I can feel it's a bit fuzzy. Check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. Let me see if I can you guys hear me? I know it felt a bit fuzzy. Here we go. I'm going to keep myself on here. The camera's going a bit fuzzy, and I want to be able to. Why did I take my mic away? It was perfect, then it dropped. Is it back now? Is my let me know, guys, if my side is back now. It sounds okay in my ears. I hope it sounds okay for you guys. Perfect. Excelente. Right. Match reaction to the Villa game. Guys, first of all, what do you guys think of the Villa game? It wasn't the result that we wanted, but let's dissect it. Let's get into it. Let me share. Let me put the screen. I wanted to show a main metric that I wanted to talk about in this game, because it leads me to my kind of overall feeling of the game. Obviously, so I want to share. Here we go. Make sure you guys can see that. So this is from FotMob. Right. So this is from FotMob. The main stat I wanted to look at. Yes, there's all the all-round stats. We had a little bit of more possession, but it didn't matter. Villa dominated expected goals, shots on target, all the other stuff. But the thing I wanted to home in on, because it before I go into a little bit of the highlights, it kind of goes into it, is the tackles won. You guys can see it overwhelmingly to Aston Villa. They're in the purple, they're highlighting the purple, 15 to them, 5 to us. So 79% of the tackles won. Interceptions, 7 to theirs, 3 to ours. So you can already show they had a structure, they had a discipline, a defensive structure that really, really worked very well. They intercepted our passes and hit us on the break quite a few times, which really, really hurt us. And we're going to see that in a little bit of the highlights that we saw as well. Duels. Now, you guys know that I love to talk about duels. I'm beginning... Yes, fine, we won the aerial duels by about 3. I think that's mainly because Aston Villa were very direct in their play. They kept on hitting the ball into the channels, into Ollie Watkins as well. But obviously, we've got Dan Burn in the background, and at times, obviously, and a lot of set pieces were going in. But it was the direct balls that kind of hurt us. The aerial duels don't excite me. It doesn't mean that we were great. Clearly, we lost the game 4-1. It's the ground duels that we lost, and 56% to ours, 44%. And if you put that together with the tackles they won, the interceptions they won, and the ground duels they won, all 3 of those, all across the pitch, you can already see that Newcastle ceded a lot of possession in key areas and in key moments that really, really, really hurt us. And it's highlighted by the goals that we conceded. And if I bring this up from the first goal, if I can bring it up, yeah, here we go. And guys, you guys will remember, hopefully for those that were in when we did the match preview for this is the opening goal. And the first thing, if you guys remember from the match preview we talked about, is Aston Villa love to overload the left side of their midfield. And on this occasion, you can see, let me make sure you guys can see this. On this occasion, we have, it's on McGinn's side. So McGinn's on the left. Ollie Watkins is there as well. And Ollie Watkins is the main protagonist of this, because this particular highlight doesn't show that Aston, just 5-10 seconds earlier, Aston Villa had won the possession in the midfield and had gone direct into that channel through. I forgot if it was through Ollie Watkins, but we had the throw on. We managed to have a throw on. Jacob Murphy took the throw on. We gave it away. We lost the possession in our third of the pitch. And you can already see Ollie Watkins. I know that Jacob Murphy's just behind him, but Ollie Watkins is here. I think it's Asensio. Asensio's there on the right. He's about to make a direct run into our box. I can't tell who the guy in the middle is. But just behind him is Ollie Watkins. It's not Rashford. Obviously, Rashford didn't start the game. I think it might be Morgan Rogers, McGinn, and on the ball you've got Tielemans. So you've already got 3-4 Aston Villa players against two Newcastle defenders here. I know Burn is just coming in there, but this direct ball that Mr. Tielemans is about to send in. We don't have. I know there's a Newcastle player just behind the referee. But the direction where Tielemans is going, he's going into this particular side in this side of the pitch, and you've already got really Share here. If you isolate them, Asensio and Morgan Rogers have managed to isolate Share here, but you've also got a little bit further up Watkins, who's kept up onside because we've lost the ball and Jacob Murphy's at the back. You've almost got in that particular moment, in that particular snapshot, Fabian Shea up against 2 Aston Villa players, possibly 3 really, because the ball could go to Ollie Watkins as well, which I think it does in the end. And obviously in the first 30 seconds of the game, Tielemans releases the ball and it is Ollie Watkins who gets the ball, right? Already you can see that he's been kept on side because of Jacob Murphy not keeping him on side here on the side here. Shaw doesn't know what to do. He's got Asensio behind. Does he follow Asensio or does he go out to Watkins? He can't go out to Watkins because if he goes out to Watkins, he leaves Asensio. Byrne obviously pushed up essentially to try and get Asensio offside, but he didn't notice that, or he must have forgot that Jacob Murphy is keeping everybody still on side. So the one split pass within 30 seconds, there's an overload there, and this is what frees up Watkins to be able to take the shot and he get the goal. And what do we already got? Already in the first 30 seconds, Aston Villa are sharper. They're winning their duels. They're winning their goal. They're winning their 1v1s. They're very quick. There's a real sense of urgency. A real sense of urgency. Like, come on, let's get it. Literally, what we say when we're playing. Let's get into them. Now, obviously, the ball's already broken to Mr. Jacob Murphy, not Jacob Murphy, to Ollie Watkins, where it's over by this time already. Obviously, Watkins takes the shot. I know it's a lucky deflection, but the main thing is Villa are sharper to the ball. They are more urgent. They're winning in 1v1 duels. We're not. They've totally overwhelmed us. Like within the first 30 seconds. I know folks will say it's a third match, and it does play a part. But this is the first 30 seconds. Like, this isn't the last 30 seconds of the 90 minutes. And I forgot to mention, obviously, Aston Villa just lost today 2-1 to Man City. So we're going to talk about that. But this is what's happened. This is what's happened. We're not sharp enough. We're not quick enough. And we get overwhelmed on that left side. We should have never lost the ball. I thought Jacob Murphy took the throw on too quickly. And maybe we should maybe slow the game down, giving us an opportunity. I think it was Tonali tried to clear the ball, but he went straight to Tielemans. So then we should have done better to clear the ball. We didn't do that. It went, obviously, and this is the subsequent result of it. So we just didn't start off well, and it got us into the wrong foot. Thankfully, we did get a goal back, but it did, and I'm not going to go through it because it was Barnes did get the assist, obviously. I kind of want to talk about, kind of get the negatives out the way for us and where things happen for us. And obviously, we ended the first half 1-1. But let's not forget, we're losing the 1v1 battles. We're losing the duels, and Ollie Watkins in particular is running us ragged. And I saw it on X as well. Sean Casey and others kind of pointed out that this is very similar to, if you guys remember, how we lost to Fulham, how we lost to Bournemouth, those direct balls over the top where teams are just saying, forget trying to win 1v1 duels with Newcastle's midfield. Let's just go straight directly at their aging backline. And this is what really, and Aston Villa did this really, really well. I think this is the goal that's, I think this might be the goal that's coming up here. One thing I wanted to notice as well, folks, is what the adjustment that Aston Villa made in particular. Little things that Mr. Emery did, which makes you think, if Eddie Howe wasn't dug out, would it have been a bit different? It's a bit harsh on Mr. Jason Tudor, but let me know what you guys think. If Eddie Howe, had been in the dugout, would this have made a difference? That's a question out there. I think it's a bit harsh on Tyndall. He's just won 2 games. Obviously 4-1 against Man United, 5-0 against Crystal Palace. Why pick on him against, a very far superior manager in Emery on your 3rd game? So I'm prepared to give a lot of leeway for that. But the tactical adjustment that Emery made was, I felt, when we tried to press up against their 2 pivots and Tielemans and Kamara, where maybe the game was slow. There was bits where maybe you can say maybe the game was beginning to swing our way, or it was threatening to do so. Ollie Watkins took up a central position in between the 2 pivots. And just to be able to alleviate the pressure, he would if the ball broke or he either Tielemans or Kamara picked up the ball, they can give it to him and he would carry it. He's such an excellent ball carrier as well as dribbler. Tonali found it very hard to get near him. We know that obviously Joe Linton picked up a yellow card because he just drove right through the middle of our midfield. He's a really magnificent midfield player. And it's in this example again. He drives through the middle of our midfield in this example as well, carries the ball, gets it over to Watkins. And you can already see in this particular space how much space Mr. Watkins has. And also you can see on the right side here, Burn with, I think it's McGinn on Burns, trying to keep out of Burns' periphery, out of his vision, just keeping on his shoulder there, keeping Burn honest, making sure Burn can't close in and try help his mate. He has to watch his flank, his back. Livramento obviously is a little bit further up the pitch. Shaw is not close to Watkins, and this is obviously, I can't remember what part of the minutes this is of the game, but Shaw's had a torrid time with Watkins. We know that he's already got a yellow card. He's been fighting Watkins. He was fairly fortunate maybe not to have been sent off in the first half. You guys remember that? Maybe, I think it was the right decision in the end, but there was obviously a shout where obviously he pulled down Watkins, who was running onto a pass that had that pass not been a bit too direct and too quick, and maybe Watkins had a chance to catch up to it, Shaw may have been sent off from preventing a goal-scoring opportunity. But that was the price that Shaw paid for being too tight to Watkins. So in this occasion, he now gives Watkins space. And this is why he got this huge space after Mr. Rodgers has driven through our midfield. And Watkins has got this opportunity now to carry the ball. And he actually has time to turn. Jacob Murphy can't get back in time. Jacob Murphy had been, in my opinion, out of position a few times in this game. You can even see Watkins, Tonali trying to run back and hold on to, I think it's Asensio as well this time. You can see McGinn's key is staying on that flank on Burn. Burn has to stay honest, but now, because that space is created, is it Ian Maatsen? I forgot his first name. Is it Maatsen, the left back? Sees the opportunity to run into that space. Shaw hasn't got, either you follow Maatsen and let Mr. Watkins get on goal, or hold your position against Watkins and leave Maatsen to run. And this is and he had absolutely no choice. And by the time he gets into that box, Maatsen is free then to, obviously the ball is an excellent pass to him, very well weighted pass, and by then it's too late, and Newcastle go 2-1 down. But this is a culmination of all the previous stuff that was happening before in Shaw's battles with Watkins, either being too tight or too far from him. Now he's giving him space. Now he's being hurt for the space. What does Shaw do? And there's just not enough cover for him. Tonali, who typically would be the screen, would be the protector of our back line, he's having to contend with Rodgers driving through, either Rodgers taking on the ball and driving through the middle of our midfield, or Tielemans getting on the ball and doing those direct passes through the center or through the flanks, which is hurting him really, really hard. And you're thinking, where's Joe Linton and where's Bruno Gomes? Well, they're trying to do their job by pressing up against Kamara and Tielemans, but it's not working. And by this time, because of Rodgers coming in and driving through the center of that park, creating those spaces, because of Watkins running in behind our defense, scaring the life out of our aging centre backs. You can see huge gaps now. The same gaps we used to see when we saw against Fulham, we saw against Bournemouth. Now we're seeing it against Villa, and those are the things that really, and these are the gaps that began to hurt us. It happens again now for this third goal here. You can see it here. Now you can see where our midfielders are. They're leaving they're not as tight on Kamara, and I think it's Onana who's come on at this time. Maatsen's now joined the overload, try to create added extra numbers in that midfield. It's that left side again, trying to overload that left side. The midfielders were to get tight to Aston Villa's midfielders, because they don't want to leave too much gap between them and our defense. But the gap, as you can see, is already the size of the Red Sea. It's absolutely massive, and filling in that gap just behind our midfield are already 3-4 Aston Villa players, and they've got absolute time on the ball. And this is all caused by I think it's Rashford now on the left side here as well. And it's now the fear is creeping in terms of this. From our defensive point of view, the runners of Aston Villa, their pace is frightening, is absolutely frightening our defense. You can see these gaps now being able to form. And what happens is the ball does get to, I think it's Asensio. Onana's got the ball here. Bruno comes in to try to close him down. Not Asensio. It comes to, I think it's Watkins. And Watkins has all the time in the world to actually, he's about to receive the ball, but you're going to see here, he's got all the time in the world to turn around. He actually, if you see the game live, he scans to the right, he scans ahead. On the left side of here is 47. I can't remember if that's Rashford. You guys will have to remind me, or maybe it's Rodgers. On that left side, the gap is created. Trippier is worried. He doesn't want to, does he stay and support Shaw as he goes against Watkins? But he's seen what's happened before. Tonali might cover him. Does he go out wide to meet Rodgers? What does he do? But the gaps is caused. Our midfielders are behind now. The ball eventually gets off to again, I can't tell. I think it's Ramsey actually. My apologies. It's Ramsey who is now isolated his fullback. Obviously, is Trippier. He turns him left. He turns him right. He turns Trippier absolutely inside out. He's then able to get he's now got 3 Aston Villas in the penalty box. Our burn isn't tight enough. Livramento isn't tight enough. To any of the players, nobody's watching the runs. All eyes on Jacob Ramsey. He gets the ball across, and I think it's, who is it that gets with the finishing touch? I want to say it's Watkins again. I can't remember which midfielder it is. It's really blurry here. And we can see the third goal. I'm not going to bother showing the Onana ghost. It's the same kind of thing. But it's the pace and power, direct play from Aston Villa, and the fear that it caused to our back line. Them running in, beyond our defensive line, not worrying too much about trying to necessarily do intricate play through our midfield and try to battle of our midfielders. And that way, just being very direct and causing those gaps in behind our midfield, where they're now worried which caused the fear of our midfielders to, can we go ahead and engage them? Or are we going to have to worry about our back line? They had to worry about our back line. Same thing happened at Chelsea away, actually, as well, if you guys remember that game. How Nicholas Jackson and Palmer and Madueke were absolutely running riot because of the gaps that were formed behind our midfield. Our midfield needs to press up high, but they need our defensive line to press up high. But our defensive line is scared to press up high because you've got mobile, quick, pacey, strong attackers, shifting them left, shifting them right. And in this case, Watkins did a brilliant job doing that. I thought Rodgers did a fantastic job whether it's him or the tactical adjustment that Emery made. I think it's Emery made, dropping into that midfield, supporting the 2 pivots in Tielemans and Kamara at first, and then driving through our midfield, having the courage to drive past Joe Linton and taking on Tonali, which is not easy to do, but it caused absolute havoc. And it hurt our way of pressing. You can see the Villa just began to dominate and began to hurt. But it happened from the first whistle to the last, and we're always kind of in that kind of defensive mode and trying to catch up. And we never had a chance in this game. And so we lost the game 4-1, deservedly so. And what was you guys' views? Already there's a few in the chat here. We will recover from this. We've got Ipswich next, which I'm really thankful for, and we're gonna, it's a great opportunity for us to get it back. But I feel like that's how the game kind of broke down in terms of everything else. Initially the tackles, the interceptions, and the Villa winning the 1v1 duels. It's particularly in our midfield, and it was the running of Watkins and other Villa players really frightening our defensive backline, creating huge gaps, and then causing a doubt in the mind of our midfielders to be able whether to go up and press, and also the introduction of Rodgers dropping in centrally, taking on the ball, and carrying the ball, dribbling past Tonali and Joe Linton and others, and really hurting our midfield as well. That added to the commotion, that kind of the organized chaos, and it created these kind of situations where you had Jacob Ramsey one-on-one with Trippier, you had Watkins one-on-one with Shaw, and guys running into space like Maatsen and others, and just totally essentially just putting us into checkmate situations. And Villa were deserved winners. But let me know what you guys think. We know we need new centre backs. We know this is in terms of just young, athletic centre backs. But that's all for the next season. We've got 5 games to go into this season. And for the guys that just come in, if you're wondering what did I put into the chat, have a look at someone set up a prediction. It's an opportunity for you guys to predict the next 5 games. We're obviously now 4 games for a couple of teams now. Villa and Man City played. Points wise, who do you think is going to win what? And you'll see the final prediction. Let me know what you guys got. I'm going to do that right after this, after I read the chat live with you guys. So if you haven't done it already, you'll see me do it, and I'll give my kind of prediction as well. But let me make sure I say hello to the folks in the chat. Bobby Fairview, good to see you, sir. Big up, Philip. I'm here. Let's go. Absolutely, yeah. The audio was a bit funny at the beginning, but we managed to change that. Wobojog, good to see you. God bless you, sir. Trade proposal. You need a centre back. We need this is obviously Wobojog for the folks that don't know, is an Arsenal supporter. Trade proposal. You need a centre back. We need a midfielder. Kivio for Miley. No. We can even make a Miles Lewis Miley chant. No, but I like the fact that you made that proposal. I wouldn't trade Miley. I wouldn't trade Miley, but very, very interesting proposal. I'll take Saliba if you're offering him. Wobojog, by the way, audio needs work. Yes, hopefully that's changed up now. Let me know, Wobojog. Oh yeah, it was perfect. Now it's perfect. That's the sound. Bobby Fairview, excuse me. Lack of squad depth was showing. It was. And the fact that I can't remember how many. I think Aston Villa were able to bring on Onana. They were able to bring on Rashford. They were able to bring on I think Ramsey and all folks, and it's just that investment they made in the January transfer window is paying off. It's paying off for them. Wobojog, your manager was definitely involved in setting up the team. He was, even if he wasn't there. EPL managers are the top 1% extremely driven professionals, in my opinion. No, they are, and yeah, I guess I was it's the in-game stuff. It's the stuff that people would have noticed in the game of what's going on. And I think Eddie Howe would have seen in the first 30 seconds that, hey, these guys have just, Villa started off sharp, they started off quick. They're hitting us they're hitting us with direct balls, vertical balls over the top. I've seen this against Fulham. I've seen this against Bournemouth. I've seen this against Chelsea. This is what I'm going to do this time. This is how I'm going to respond. And I don't know if Tyndall did that. Obviously, it wasn't as evident. The fact that we went 1-1 into the second half perhaps showed some kind of work there. But in the second half, and with Rodgers dropping in central midfield, there wasn't really an answer for that and what we do. So maybe even with Eddie Howe there, what could he have done? And as we mentioned, we're kind of burning the candle at both ends, because lack of squad depth. What could you have? How could you have responded to the various tactical flexibility that Villa had? Even if we were able to respond to Rodgers going central, the direct balls over the top, Could you have this? How would we have responded to the players that were coming on? Would it have been the same? So it was just well played by Villa. It was well played by Villa, to be honest. There's no excuses on my end, for sure. Richie T, good to see you, and God bless you, sir. Great detail and knowledge as always, Philip. I really, really appreciate that, Richie T. Really appreciate the encouraging comments. It's really helpful, especially when preparing the stuff. Hoping you guys enjoy it. So I really, really appreciate that, Richie. Thank you so much. Consistent Mag FC, good to see you, sir. God bless you. Hi, Philip. Guys, if you guys haven't seen it in the description box, I'm about to do the prediction, and there's an opportunity for you guys to take part in this activity as well. It's a prediction for the top 5. I'm going to click on it now, actually, so you guys can see. It's in the top of the description box. Let me know what you guys come up with. Who are your top 5 for the Champions League qualification? So let me do it with you guys while I'm here. But as we mentioned, actually, as mentioned before, I kind of get into that. So yeah, in conclusion, Aston Villa at the beginning, from minute 1 to minute 90, were quicker, sharper, had the urgency, were hitting vertical balls directly over the top. Ollie Watkins' movement in particular really, really, really hurt us. And the space that was created really, really hurt us. The in-game management from Emery, we're putting in Mr. Rogers, Morgan Rogers, essentially to help out the 2 pivots of Tielemans and in Kamara. So when he was able to take on the ball and drive through the middle of our park as well, causing that like disruption to our lines and a bit of organized chaos, further added to kind of the doubt between our midfield and the defensive lines, what allowed the Aston Villa forwards and midfielders to pour forward, allowed Tielemans to get onto the ball and pick off passes, allowed Rogers to carry the ball and cause absolute mayhem. Watkins defenders didn't know whether to get tight or give him space. Either way, it didn't matter. He was wreaking absolute havoc with his movement. And then you got the likes of Ramsey, the likes of Asensio, the likes of Maatsen, McGinn, and others flooding in those spaces and getting shots off, scoring goals and being clinical. And in the end, Aston Villa were worthy winners. Aston Villa, of course, speaking of Aston Villa, lost today. I watched the game against Man City. Decent game as well. And really, really tight game. And they lost to a final 94th minute, I think, winner from Nunes. Doku, really good assist from Doku as well. And Man City did a really, really good really good way of controlling Aston Villa. But it's not about Man City and Aston Villa. But we're now 5th. In fact, let me look at it before I get into the predictor. Let me look at it. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get onto the league table. So where does that leave us now that obviously we've lost to Aston Villa, but in Aston Villa have lost today? Where does that leave everybody? So let's get on to SofaScore. Where does the table stand? And once we do that, let's get onto this predictor as well. So let me make sure you guys can see that. No, you can't see that because I'm not sharing my thing with you. All right, so let me show you. Brilliant. Right, so where does the table stand? Okay. Oh yeah, folks, please do like, share, and subscribe. Okay, so Newcastle are 5th. Let me zoom in a little bit. How well can you guys see that? Can you guys see that? Yes, excelente. So, all right, so obviously Liverpool are top. Arsenal are 2nd. Man City are on 61 points with 34 games played, so we've got a game in hand. And they're in good form. Plus 23 goal difference is going to make a difference in this league for everybody. Man City with a plus 23 goal difference and 61 points on the board. Forest, who won yesterday as well, watched that game against Spurs, who also won their game 2-1 against Spurs, are with plus 14 goal difference, less than ours, and on 60 points with the same game played. And that leaves us in 5th position with 59 points and 18 plus goals. We are 2 points ahead, and now we are very much 2 points ahead of both Chelsea and Aston Villa. Aston Villa obviously have played one game more than us now. But Aston Villa have now, what, 4 or 5 games remaining. They're on 57 points. Chelsea got the same, and on 5 goal difference. So Aston Villa's goal difference out of all of us that are chasing it, is just far behind everybody else's. Interestingly, we've all got Newcastle and Chelsea. We've got the same points as Chelsea. We've got the same goal difference as Chelsea in plus 18. But we're obviously 2 points and ahead. And I watched Antonio Mango's show earlier, and he said, and I agree with him on this, is that there is going to be a psychological positive that we can gain from that we're still we're after losing to Villa, and all the games have now been played. In fact, with two of our nearest rivals as well, now having played against a game more than us, we are still 5th, and we're going into our home game against Ipswich now with very much destiny in our hands, which is a good place to be for Newcastle United. So we're currently 5th. So where does that leave things? And that's where we kind of what do you guys think of all this? And that's what leads us on to the activity that I'm going to be doing with you guys, courtesy of Mr. Bobby Fairview. And if you guys don't know what it is, do look at the top of the screen. I'm going to go into it now. We're going to give our predictions. We're going to do an active predictions for the next 4 or 5 games now to see where things lie. So let me get onto it now, live with you guys. I do have it up. So this is the links at the top of the description, guys. Do have a look at it and make sure you guys can see this. Yes, you can. So this is the Flamio predictor, the race for Europe. Now, we know, because this is obviously a game behind now, because Villa and Man City have played. So Man City have got a win here, and Villa have got a loss. And as we can see, Man City now have 61 points, Villa have 57 points. So I'm gonna do it sequentially. I'm gonna predict Chelsea's, Forest, Man City's, ours, and Aston Villa's, and see where it leads us. I'm not gonna take too long, because sometimes I feel like when you make a kind of a quick decision, I think that's the truest decision that you can make. And you guys can join me on this. Like I said, the link is at the top. Do let me know where the teams have landed for you guys, especially where Newcastle have landed as well. Do let me know. Right. So let me start off with Chelsea. Chelsea's next game is against Everton. It's a home game. I do think Chelsea will win this game. I feel like the momentum. Actually, let me quickly do this. I do think Chelsea are going to win this game, but let me just quickly, because I know that Chelsea also got Europa Conference League. So I want to just try and remember as much as I can about whereabouts they're playing that. They're going to have to play. They have got 1st of May. Oh, so it's a little while away. So after the Everton game, before the Liverpool game, then they got another game in 8th of May before the game against us. So they play us 3 days later. All right. So I know where I'm going with. Okay, fine. I know where I'm going with this. Let's get back to it. Chelsea, right? So I think Chelsea beat Everton at home. I think the momentum's from the Fulham game is going to carry them forward. They've got another game against Liverpool at home. And the trick question now is, and I did promise I'll do this quickly, where's Liverpool mindset going to be? Are they going to be, once they win the league, do they beat Tottenham? If they don't beat Tottenham and there's still a chance that they need to win it at Chelsea, Liverpool have a different mindset. But I think Liverpool do beat. Can Chelsea... I can't see Liverpool. How much off the gas would Liverpool be, and how much? If Chelsea win 2 in a row, I'd hate it if this happens. But Chelsea play Okay, I'll go for a Chelsea win. I'll go for a Chelsea win. Then they play us away, and this is 3 days later after they've gone to Europe against the side whose name I can't pronounce. God forgive me. I think Newcastle will beat Chelsea at our ground. We're going to be revved up for this game, in my opinion. I think we win this game. So I'm going to say a Chelsea loss. Then obviously this is the difficult part because now we're getting to the season. Man United are going to be focused on other things. They're going to be playing Chelsea at home. They had rough games against each other. How did Chelsea recover? I think Chelsea beat Man United at home. Man United aren't going to care. Chelsea win. Now, Forest, the final game of the season, they play Forest at home. My guess and estimation is that Forest are still going to have things to play for. I don't think Chelsea beat them. I don't think Chelsea beat them away. Oh, I think I give a Forest victory. All right, so I got Forest victory. So what does that? I'll give Chelsea 66 points. Okay, Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest have the FA Cup, don't they? So let me see. Where have I got Forest? When did Forest play the FA Cup? When did Forest play the FA Cup? Let me see. Forest play the FA Cup matches. When did Forest play the FA Cup? On the 27th of April, just before they play April. Excuse me, just before on the first play, just before they play Brentford. After Brentford, and who do they play? I think they play Man City, don't they? Who do they play in the FA Cup? Yeah, they play Man City. I think Man City beat them. I think Man City beat them. Then they go to Forest. Then they go to Brentford. Okay, then they'll go to Brentford on the 1st of May. All right, so okay, so they've looked. If I'm right and they lose to Man City, they play Brentford at home. Oh, do they beat Brentford? I'll give it to Forest. I think they beat Brentford at home. Palace is an interesting one. Palace away is an interesting one because both of them. Then they play Palace away. All they got to focus is on that. Palace, though, I've also got the FA Cup. They play Villa, I think. I think Palace lose, and I think yeah, Forest win that game. I think Forest beat Leicester at home as well. That's a given. Now West Ham away. West Ham don't have much to play for. They've been awful. I think Forest beat them as well. Now, and I've given Forest sugar, and I've said already that I think Forest beat Chelsea at home as well. So I've given Forest all wins, guys. Goodness me, I've got Forest on 75 points. Oh my word! Oh my word! All right, let's go for it. Man City, obviously they've won today, so that prediction's out the way. And then they play Wolves at home. Wolves are on the beach. I think they beat Wolves at home. Wolves don't care. Then they play Southampton. Where Southampton are finished. Bournemouth. Bournemouth are about 10 points at the moment away from Conference League, but they are playing for it. They had a victory against Fulham. They're still playing like they got something. I think they play Bournemouth at home though, and Bournemouth are really. I think Man City at home. Do they beat them all? I think Man City win against Bournemouth at home. Fulham is an interesting one. Man City themselves are in the FA Cup, aren't they? They play Fulham away. I think Fulham don't have anything to play for. I think I've given Forest and Man City. So Chelsea, so far Chelsea on 66 points, Forest on 75 points, Man City on 73 points. Let me see if you guys have said anything. What have you guys got so far? Jog, I'd really love if you could do similar streams for other games, for other clubs. Quality content, really breaking it down. Oh, thank you, sir. Well, that's something to consider, I suppose, as well. I really appreciate that, Jog. That's something to consider for sure. Thank you. Means a lot. Bobby Fairview, Newcastle's in a strong position. Nothing to worry about other than Eddie Howe's health. Hope he's recovering well. Yeah, so do I. I'll be praying for him. Philip, put the predictor back on screen. It is on screen. I can see it on my screen. Can you guys not see it? I hope you guys can see it. We are looking at the fixture list. Oh, okay. That's when, okay. Phil, we can't see what you're selecting. Put it back on the screen. Oh, it wasn't. Sorry. Apologies for that. Perfect. Now we can see it. Sorry, guys. Right. So, yeah. So that's why I've got it on the screen. I've got Forest and Man City winning the next games. All right. So, Newcastle. We're beating Ipswich at home. Now, Brighton away. We never have a good time against Brighton. I'm not going to say that. Take those words back. This is why it's so hard as a Newcastle fan to be doing this. If we beat Brighton, guys, I think this is going to be like the watershed moment. If we beat Brighton. I'm going to put it as a draw. Chelsea at home. And like I said, I think we beat Chelsea. Now, Arsenal away. Now, Arsenal, this is game week 7. My hope, as much as Arsenal want to beat us, in fact, let me just double check. When do we play Arsenal? Because I want to know, guys, when do Arsenal beat PSG? So when do we play Arsenal? Let me just, let me first say Newcastle United matches. What have we got? We play Arsenal on the 18th of May. Now, okay, Arsenal. No. Yeah, 18th of May. So when do Arsenal play? When do they do their Champions League stuff? Because they're not, as much as they would be desperate not to lose to us for a 4th time this season. As the saying goes, they've got bigger fish to fry. Right. So they've got So they play PSG the second leg on the 7th of May. This is the one time I'm going to be really hoping that Arsenal beat PSG and they've got the final to worry about. So I'm going to hope, and we all got to hope. We've all got to hope that Arsenal are still in the Champions League. Arsenal are still in the Champions League and they have to sacrifice their team and then we can beat them away. So I'm going to give us a win. Now, this leaves us with Everton at home, with us with 69 points. Oh, gosh. Chelsea, us on 69 points, Chelsea on 66 points so far. Forest on 75 points, Man City on 73 points. We need this win. I back us. I think we beat Everton at home. I think we're going to have to win the game. And I think we do. And that leaves us with 72 points. So that leaves us with Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa have also got an FA Cup to contend with as well. I think they go through to the final. Aston Villa are going to have to juggle. I think Aston Villa will play Man City in the final. That's going to be crucial. It's going to be tiring as well. Then they play Fulham at home. Aston Villa play Fulham at home. I think it's going to be a draw. I hope it's going to be a draw. Right, then they play Bournemouth away. They play Bournemouth away. Oh, they play Bournemouth away. They play Bournemouth away. They play Bournemouth away. They play Bournemouth away. It's going to be crucial for them. I think they might win. I think they also play. I think they beat Fulham up. Tottenham at home, and they definitely blow away Man United because they're going to be focused on the Conference League, the Europa, and so is Man United. So Newcastle. So guys, this is a crazy scoreline. Okay. I've got Forest in third on 75 points. That's a terrific season for Forest. That's more than we got when we finished Champions League last time. We had 71 points. I've got Man City in fourth on 73 points. I've got us in fifth on 72 points, 5 points ahead of Aston Villa on 67 points, and 6 points ahead of Chelsea, who are seventh on 66 points. So sorry, Villa on 67, Chelsea on 66 points. So that's how I've got it, guys. That is how I've got it. I've got Newcastle finishing in the Champions League spot. Fifth. And actually, to be fair, guys, for the guys that have been, well, actually no. So yeah, I was gonna say, I actually had Newcastle this season finishing between 64 and 68 points. For those of you that have been following the channel, you would know this. So I've got us exceeding expectations a little bit here as well. So it'll be the best season for me as a Newcastle fan. Should we finish on 72 points? Qualify for Champions League and come out of it as League Cup. We obviously League Cup winners. It'll be my best season, and I think for any Newcastle, best season as a Newcastle fan. So let me see what you guys think, guys. Let me know what you got. Where have you guys got Newcastle finishing? Let me know in the chat. And if you're thinking, hey, I want to see this game activity, the link is at the description, at the top of the description. Have a look. Let me see what you guys are saying. Before we go on to talk about the future, possibly the future midfield maestro, Loan Miley, and Newcastle's future midfield, the future of Newcastle midfield. Bobby Fairview, you've got a lot of teams, you've got a lot of wins for these teams. I do. I just think yeah, I think I do. I think the momentum, I think people will be like, check the Arsenal UCL fixture. Yeah, I did. Yeah. And guys, pray for Arsenal to beat PSG. Arsenal have to beat PSG. I need Arsenal fully locked in on that. If Arsenal in the Champions League final, Declan Rice is not playing. Partey is not playing. All the guys are going to be afraid. It'll be insane for them. Like, I know they played these guys against Brentford before they played Madrid away, but they were 3-0 up on aggregate. This is the Champions League final. God help them if they risk their players against us at the Emirates before the Champions League. Which player is really going to be up for that game? So that's what I'm banking on, guys. I'm really banking on that game. Goodness gracious, who would have thought I'll be in a position where I'm But if we beat Brighton away, we don't have to worry so much about. That's why it's so crucial. It's just crazy. Right. So Ubajog, gotta thank you and the other teams involved. This Champions League spot race is the entertaining bit of the season. League and relegation wrapped up for weeks now. Hey, it was our pleasure, Wilburjog. Absolutely our pleasure. Bobby Fairview, every scenario at Chelsea is in 7. I know, and I was surprised because Bobby sent me his results earlier, and I thought, would Chelsea finish in 7th? And then, yeah. Even though I've been quite, I thought it was been quite generous, but no, yeah, crazy. Hashtag Maresca out. Oh wow, you're calling it early there, Bobby. There's a big old conversation at the moment. I'm watching a lot of Chelsea fan channels and like Chelsea content creators and talking to content creators as well. It certainly seems a little bit split. Bobby Fairview at Forest will not win that many games. I hope not, Bobby. I watched the Spurs game and they were just Forest was so clinical and so professional. And I thought, yeah, if you keep playing like this, and I know Spurs aren't in their best form, and Forest are also playing a few teams where they're gonna check out a little bit. Yeah, but that Forest Chelsea game is going to be pivotal. It's going to be for both teams. It's going to be absolutely. If it finishes in the best scenario for Newcastle is if that game finishes in the draw. All right. So Overjog definitely would rather Newcastle over Aston Villa. So that can have good second best manager in the league after Pep messing evening and his fans drag me into Artetaverse every debate. Oh gosh, it's going to be crazy. Imagine if he wins the FA Cup as well. Yes, imagine if Emery wins the FA Cup and gets into the Champions League spot. Oof. And you guys don't win it. Those conversations would be wild. And what would that mean for the future of Arteta? And speaking of the future, Lewis Miley. So, guys, we've talked about we've given a match reaction to the Aston Villa game. We've given our prediction for the Champions League spot. I've got us in that 5th position on 72 points. Let's talk about Lewis Miley. Let's talk about the future. Is he the future? Is Lewis Miley, guys? Let me know. Is Lewis Miley the future of Newcastle's midfield? Is he and also let me share my screen. And what is the future of Newcastle's midfield? Where are we at? And as I mentioned, guys, let me just lay the foundations for this. Let me lay the foundations for this before I kind of go into it, because there's quite a lot of ground I'm gonna cover on this. I'm gonna talk about Lewis Miley. I want to talk about Lewis Miley in the sense of, I'm going to use Lewis Miley. I'm going to talk about Lewis Miley, obviously, is the future of Newcastle United. And it's going to be based on a couple of things. But also, I'm going to use kind of my conversation with Lewis Miley to cover the future of Newcastle's midfield. So we are going to do a few player profiles. We're going to talk about Matheus Cunha, who goes into my theory of what I'm going to be talking about as well. And let me lay out my kind of thinking on Lewis Miley in the moment as well, and where it's at, and why I need you guys. I need the chat, because I might be guilty of a bit of confirmation bias, meaning I've got a theory. I think this was what could happen, and I'm going to talk about Newcastle squad depth. I'm going to be talking about player profiles. I'm going to talk about, Matheus Cunha, and where does that all lie, and why I think what it's going to mean also for Lewis Miley and all that. But I need you guys, because what I might be guilty of is laying it out just to confirm what I'm thinking. So I might be guilty of that. So I'm going to try and avoid that and be as objective as I can. But I need you guys, I need the chat, I need you guys to engage and let me know what your thoughts are. Say, no, I think this is going to be like this. I think this is what's going to happen. Because it's going to really, really help with making sure we're going to be as consistent as possible with this. So my theory, guys, before I go into it, is that I think Lewis in terms of the short term, medium term, and the long term, I think the best thing for Lewis Miley, or what will happen in terms of next season, is for him to go out on loan. um, and to kind of be a first teamer in another club, to earn his experience, to earn his stripes, as it were, to become. I don't know, for those of you that watched ever watched Game of Thrones, and I forgot the gentleman's name. He talks to Jon Snow because you got to kill the boy. God, we don't know what happens next, but the point being, you got to grow up and grow in, not grow up. That's not the one I'm not looking for. He knows he's talented. Eddie Howe knows he's talented. We know he's talented, but he's got to know just how good he is. He's got to take on the experience and the pressures of playing football week in, week out, preferably for a good side that's competing for um, cups, competing in Europe if you can as well, competing in their league as well, because I think he's that talented. I don't see him going to a side that's fighting relegation, in my opinion. This goes away from what I was thinking before about Lewis Miley, where I thought he could be like what Phil Foden was for Pep Guardiola, where he's kept Pep Guardiola, obviously he rose through the Man City academy. Pep Guardiola kept him in the team, in the squad, and kind of bled him in slowly. I think for Lewis Miley to really, really develop, and for the benefit of Newcastle as a club, which is my ultimate goal, my ultimate hope, is for Lewis Miley to go out and to earn his stripes. Now, I'm going to lay it out. That's my theory. That's my thought. I'm now going to talk about Lewis Miley, what's kind of prompted this conversation, and kind of go into and kind of use a conversation around Lewis Miley. We're going to be talking about his player profile, the squad depth, other players as well, to kind of lay out the foundation and get you guys, most importantly, get you guys' thoughts and views on it so far. I already got people in the chat saying, already kind of giving their views. Oh, by the way, sorry, missed that. Hi, Villa fan. Hi, good to see you, Villa fan. Obviously, commiserations on the loss today. I thought you guys played really, really, really well. Unfortunate in the loss, but yeah, I'm sure you guys will pick it up and see where we'll go from there. We did actually a Champions League predictor. There's a link right at the top of the description. If you missed it, Villa fan, let me know if you feel free to take part in it. Let me know where you think where your predictions end up being as well. Consistent Mag of C think Tonali will be the next captain after Bruno. That's a good call, and that's been on my mind as well. Consistent Mag of C. I wouldn't say no to that at all. Even though, for me, guys, Bruno Guimaraes so long has possibly been, or very close to, if not already, the best signing I've seen at Newcastle United. Now, I hold him in such high regard. He came into this club when we were fighting relegation with no release clause. So if we got relegated, he'd be in the Championship with us. He stayed. He picked us out of the relegation, got us into the Champions League, got us a medal, a trophy, and is now hopefully going to get us into the Champions League again. I value him so highly. So long as Bruno Guimaraes is at Newcastle United, he should always be the captain, in my opinion. I hold him very, very high in high esteem. But yes, Tonali, future captain, why not? The Villa fan, the thumbnails are cool. How do you make them? I have, if I had time, I'll put his details in the chat. Villa fan. I have a gentleman who makes thumbnails for me. If you can, contact me again on X, and I will send you. It's not a secret. I just managing everything else. I'll put it in the chat if I could, because I'd have to like change screens and look for details and stuff like that. So just holler at me in the chat. Excuse me, on X, and I'll send it through to you. And if more folks are interested, I'll put it. Remind me, guys, and I'll put it in the chat next time as well. But he's a great guy. Really, really good. And I appreciate that you appreciate the chats, and let me know. Let me know as well. I want to promote him to as many people as possible, to be honest. So it's no secret at all, guys. If anybody else in the chat was wondering, who makes my thumbnails or anything like that, I'll forward you guys the details. All right, consistent Mag of C. What will happen with Osola for next season? Great question. You let me know, consistent Mag. Let me know. I think he goes out on loan, just like I think Lewis Miley should go out on loan. and we're going to find out just how good the Solar is, and hopefully the boy will come back a man as well. Wobajog, in my opinion, excuse me, excuse me. Let me get a drink of water. I need a drink of water. I'm kind of excited to talk to you about this, guy. So, about Matheus Miley and this midfield, because it's been on my mind, all right? I'm really keen to see what you guys think. All right, Wobajog, in my opinion, ideally a loan in Spain would be great for him. Not a big fan of the Championship. I don't think he should go to the Championship either. He needs to be playing that a bit. There's no point. He's been playing, I agree with you, Wobajog. He's playing in Europe. He's played for us. He can't be in the Championship. Not a big fan of the Championship loans for midfielders for his profile. I agree. Totally agree with you with that one. The Villa fan, I still think we'll get top 5, but tonight we made a mistake, but it's okay. We move on. And this is going to be a hard-fought race, and that's the mentality you got to have. That's the mentality you got to have. Absolutely. No worries yet. That's still what I said earlier. Brilliant. So yeah, just remind me about that. All right, guys. So what's triggered this kind of conversation for me around Matheus Miley? And like I said, I'm going to be talking about Matheus Miley, his profile, but I'm going to use this to talk about the future also of Newcastle's midfield, and I'm going to be doing other player profiles as well. So stick around, guys. Let me know your views and opinions. It might run over time a little bit as well, but I want to be able to talk about this properly. I want to be able to see what you guys think. Right. So we saw this report from Mr. Fabrizio Romano. Some people love him, some people hate him, some people think he's reliable, some people don't think he's reliable. For me, and in my opinion, he's a tier 1 journalist, especially within the transfer world as well. And so I'm using him. And not only am I using him, but whoever's talked for Matheus Miley has used him specifically as well, and I think he has. So this is what Fabrizio Romano reported on the 18th of April, so now 4 days ago. Several clubs are following the situation of Matheus Miley ahead of the summer transfer window. Premier League and Bundesliga clubs, very interesting, I like that, hold strong interest in the midfielder, who may find it difficult for game time behind such a strong midfield three at Newcastle. So I want to point to a couple of things in this particular message, and my thoughts around it before we delve into Matheus Miley's profile himself, and we talk about other things. First of all, it's Fabrizio Romano. Whoever released this information to Fabrizio Romano, first of all, I believe it's somebody from Matheus Miley's camp, probably a family member, an agent, or somebody else. It is my belief. It's not going to be Eddie Howe, right? It's not going to be Newcastle. It's not going to be anybody from Newcastle. Like, it doesn't, even the way it's written. Newcastle aren't going to leak this. It makes no absolute sense. So I do believe it's somebody from Matheus Miley's camp. I don't necessarily think it was Matheus Miley himself. I don't even believe, I'll go as far as to say, I don't even think I wouldn't be surprised, yeah, if Matheus Miley himself had no idea that someone in his camp had a contact to release this information to Fabrizio Romano. I do think that maybe he's come home and maybe, is confided in people that he trusts, that he's frustrated at his situation at Newcastle, he's not getting minutes. And how is he going to get past Tonali, Bruno, or Jolinton to play? Which is a fair question to ask, by the way. And that he wants to play. But he's not saying it in a way where, yeah, go tell Fabrizio Romano, this is what I think, and try and leverage a move. Which I don't necessarily think this is what it is. But I do believe that it's somebody from Matheus Miley's camp. I think that the fact that he used Fabrizio Romano and not a local journalist is also very, very interesting, because Fabrizio Romano obviously is when I say tier 1, is globally known and recognized. You don't use Craig Hope, who's a local journalist. You don't use Lee Ryder. You don't use Mark Douglas. Who maybe you don't use them because also they're close to home, right? Because then they can go and say, hey, so and so has told me from Lewis Miley's camp this is true. I'm going to relate, and now it becomes very, very awkward. It comes a little bit close to home now, right? You're using an internationally known journalist to kind of convey this message out there that, hey, Lewis Miley is not necessarily is in the situation that, look, he wants to play. He's not, as this article says, there's two problems. There's problems here. One, he's not gaining the minutes, and is finding it difficult. The other thing is finding it difficult for game time because and it's interesting that it's said. The other thing that's interesting about it is this strong midfield three. So it's very, very specific, right? Right. Tonali, Bruno, and Joe Linton. And it's obviously been leading up to this point. It's been, widely talked about Newcastle's midfield being one of the strongest midfields in the league, right? And the point being is Miley's not getting into it, and he's not getting into it now. And is he really going to get it? Kind of, without saying it, for me, is if I'm reading between the lines, should this midfield stay the same next season? Is he going to be playing next season? Hence why this has gone out there. But also it starts off with several clubs are following the situation. Hey, but that first message so we're talking about where Lewis Miley, or this person for Lewis Miley, is talking and saying, we don't see how Lewis Miley gets into this midfield. And this is making me, not Lewis Miley, but whoever's in his camp, saying, question whether he's going to ever get into this midfield, right? But the opening messages, several clubs are following the situation of Lewis Miley ahead of the summer transfer window. I think whoever's in Lewis Miley's camp is firing a warning shot to Newcastle United and to Eddie Howe, right? Several clubs. Hey, Premier League clubs, Bundesliga clubs. So big clubs, likely to be clubs of some stature, are looking at Lewis Miley. It's I don't know if I'll go as far as to say it's a shot across the bows. I'm going to say it's a warning shot, though. I do think it's a warning shot. And I think it's a shot to say, hey, we need you to do something about this. It's a bit panicky. It's a bit, because you fired the shot now, and if you miss, it could come back to bite you. That's why I don't think it's Lewis Miley doing it. I don't even think Lewis Miley has asked anybody to do it. I think he confided in folks, people in and around his family, outside of his family, or agent, in particular an agent, I think, I've said this, and they feel like they're advocating on his behalf, and they did it in a very major way. They went through for the number one globally recognized tier one journalist, just because it certifies it, right? Because if it's some unknown journalist, tier 2, tier 3, if is it Ekram, for instance, or one of those journalists that people always laugh at because they know that they just say some crazy stuff all the time, we're not going to care about this. I'm not going to be doing a show about it. I'm like, look at it and continue. It's not going to be nothing. But you're forcing people to pay attention because of the journalist that it is. You're forcing Newcastle to pay attention because you're saying, hey, several clubs in the Premier League, Bundesliga, so it's clubs of stature, of the same level or even higher than Newcastle in terms of club stature, are looking at Lewis Miley. But also, hey, Lewis Miley's not seeing the future here. You have to do something about it. He's not getting game time. He needs game time. The main thing is he needs game time. So I kind of presented the problem, and this was tweaked my conversation today about Lewis Miley. So starting off with that, in talking about Lewis Miley minutes, does he have a point? Well, in terms of, is there an issue for his minutes? Maybe I've worded it wrong in terms of issue. He hasn't got a lot of minutes, and we know that because, let me start off. Which one should I share? I'll share this one first, because if we look at his minutes this season, he's played less than 500 minutes in the first. So let me just He's played less than 500 minutes. And he's been fit since October. I've looked it up. He's been fit since October 2024 when he was an unused sub against Brighton. So let me find the screen to share. He's been fit since being an unused sub against Brighton in October 2024. And if we look at his minutes, first, we'll look at his minutes before we go a little bit backwards. So far this season, I know it says 581 minutes here, but this is to do with Premier League 2. He's played in the Premier League 2. And I'm not counting the Premier League 2 minutes. I don't think Matheus Cunha, clearly whoever's done it from Matheus Cunha, they're not counting the Premier League 2 minutes, right? And they're looking at his appearances or lack of appearances in the Premier Leagues and the FA Cups and the EFL Cups. He's had 11 appearances in the league so far, or has been in the squad. I think he's had 11 appearances in the Premier League so far, where he's obviously scored 1 goal. And a combination of 219 minutes, which is not a lot in the Premier League. He's had 3 appearances in the FA Cup, where he's got 1 goal as well, with 236 minutes. So it's a lot of sub appearances there, obviously, and 2 appearances in the League Cup with a combination of 2 minutes. That can't be right, 2 minutes, because he played against Birmingham, or was that FA Cup? In the FA Cup against Birmingham. That was the FA Cup, I think, against Birmingham, wasn't it? So a total of, he's got less than 500 minutes, essentially. So he hasn't been playing. He hasn't been playing that many minutes, and he's been available since October. So there is a thing there. That in terms of, yes, he's played there's a lack of minutes of where he's played, but is it a problem? It's a problem for Matheus Cunha, but is it a problem in terms of, is it simply as either a problem where he's not good enough? Is it the strength of the midfield, as they pointed out? What is going on? Before we go into that, and we'll go far into that, I want to do a quick scouting report of Matheus Cunha, of his profile, because I think it's important to share and talk about just the type of player he is, and what people and scouts think of Matheus Cunha outside of Newcastle United. So before I do that, let me make sure I catch up with the chats a little bit. I'm running out of time already, but I say running out of time, but yeah. But it's such an interesting conversation for me. Let me just quickly read through the chats. The Villa fan, is Matheus Cunha any good? We're going to talk about it right now. Great question. We're going to talk about it right now. Adrian Pickett saying he's promising. Adrian Pickett, we haven't seen enough of him this season, is really to assess his development. So you guys are asking already the right questions, and I'm happy we're covering his profile. We haven't seen enough from the season to really assess the development. I agree with that. Adrian Pickett, if we can put by the way, God bless you, Adrian Pickett, good to see you. If we can put a buyback clause in any deal, that would soften the blow. Wow. So Adrian, you're kind of already ready to lose him by the sounds of it. Wobajog, would you say this is more of a Cheeto situation or Wanyeri situation? I.e., he'd wait his turn if shown a path, or he's eager to break into first team as soon as possible and won't wait at Newcastle? That's a great question, Wobajog. I'm going to evaluate it and consider it while I'm going through this, and I'll go back to the Sober Joke. I don't think I can answer it. I think it's such a good question. I have to kind of wait on it and think about it, and I'll come back onto it. Great question, guys. And if you guys have seen this question was from Wobajog, if anybody else has got an answer for it, do let me know. Would you say this is from Wobajog, would you say this is more of a Cheeto, obviously speaking from an Arsenal perspective? Cheeto obviously left Arsenal, great prospect by the way, left Arsenal to go to Man United because he saw a pathway there. Wanyeri also was wanted by other clubs, felt that he would rather wait at Arsenal and now is getting his chance. So he's saying, two separate paths, two promising youngsters, just like Miley is. One's chosen to leave Arsenal to seek minutes and game time elsewhere, and there's a path elsewhere. One has chosen to stay at Arsenal and wait his turn. So, i.e., he'd wait his turn if shown a path, or he's eager to break into first team as soon as possible and won't wait at Newcastle. Great question. I'm gonna think about that one. I think the answer's somewhere in the middle, which is what I kind of said at the beginning in terms of I think a loan out to the clubs in Bundesliga or in the Premier League, Bundesliga preferably. For me, a club that's playing in Europe would be the answer. The Villa fan, he's a very talented prospect, to be honest. Yes, he is. So let's talk about his talent as well, briefly, because, oh gosh, I'm already running out of time because there's other profiles I wanted to look at, but we'll do this quickly. He's a lifelong fan. We know that. His profile is, by the way, this was done when he last year, because it talks about him when he was 17 years old. I haven't got an exact date, but this is talk about him last year. So his profile is that, Loan Miley played a lot of games for us last season and our injury hit season. So Miley's a bright spark in the Premier League as a boxer. This is from the profile is done by Jacek Kulik, who I really like his work. Loan Miley's box-to-box midfielder. Miley's well known for his outstanding tactical sense, his adaptable skill set, and unwavering defensive ability. He's 17 years old, as he was last year. He's 18 years old now. A 17-year-old boy excels at intercepting passes from opponents and stopping attacking threats at the source because of his natural sense of game flow. The midfielder's exceptional sense of position enables them to close down gaps, block passing lanes, and support teammates effectively. Despite his elegant demeanor, Miley commands the skies, and he's gone even taller now. Actually, imagine this: he was very when I say he was very lean. Now he's filled out more as well. Now he commands the skies, excelling in defensive and offensive aerial duels, providing an added advantage during set pieces. He displays excellent technical skills in his last pass in the latter third of the pitch, and we saw that in his assist for Isak in his goal against Chelsea. I'm going to fast forward a little bit, but he plays on the right side of our midfield mainly. It talks about how he's got a really good sense of positioning. So it's, Miley's positioning during the build-up can be observed in Figure 1. So you can see he's in the right of our midfield three. He's in the right side of our midfield three. Often drops deep next to the defensive midfielder and Bruno. This gives Bruno a license to move quite effectively, as his strength is to keep moving to offer an additional passing lane and carry the ball forward. So similar-ish to what Tonali does for him as well. Thanks to the presence of Miley, Bruno can leave his original position and play comfortably. The left attacking midfielder, on the other hand, frequently positions so high to receive the ball in between the lines. So Miley essentially goes into a number 6 role sometimes, is what it's saying, allowing Bruno to push up and allowing the number 6 at the left-hand side, Joe Linton or Willock, to also push up, probably more close to the striker, more centrally as well. He's offensively very calm on the ball, remarkable levels of composure, very good decision maker. You can see him here talking about his footballing IQ in terms of his position. He's quite astute, always makes himself available for his teammates by identifying spots where he can receive the ball without being under pressure. In addition, his off-ball movements are very clever. He shows good perception, awareness of space, allowing his teammates to receive the ball without being pressured. So he's excellent in his decision making. And like I said, he had a lot more game time in last year when we had tons and tons of injuries. In the final third of the pitch, it says here, Lewis demonstrates his superior passing and decision-making abilities. We talked about that. His influence in the final third is demonstrated by his assists. He made to AC. He had an assist against AC Milan. He scored against Fulham. He's really, really good for us in terms of his offensive side and his defensive side of the game. Gives us stats here in terms of his progressive passes. So moving the ball from one section of the field forward to the up forward, from whether it's from defensive or from the midfield to the final third. In terms of progressive stats, receive the ball and miss controls. In terms of progressive passes received and miss controls off the ball per 90, the Newcastle Academy product shows great numbers when compared to elite players. And you can see him here. Progressive passes received, very, very high up. He's up there with Odegaard, with Gross, who was playing for Brighton at the time, just a little bit below Szoboszlai. So he's kind of seen in the very kind of elite sense of, and you can see his miscontrols. When he gets the pass, is very, very low. So he's very, very good at receiving the ball and distributing the ball. Excellent at that. Defensive game, very good. Is because they press opposition so hard throughout the build-up phase, Newcastle typically can defend well. When they press high, their attackers lead the pressing, but in the midfield, the attacking midfielders press the opposition ball in the ball. That's how we play. So he tries to lock the position team in the ball side. The attacking midfielders mark the position defensive midfield. So he's used to playing in a high pressing team, which he's very good at. So he's devoted to performing his defensive responsibilities as effectively as he can, which we've seen at the time. He's 6'2". I think he's about 6'4" now. Like, he's grown. He's absolutely massive. So you can see him there. So they give a conclusion on him. So throughout Newcastle's injury crisis, obviously speaking about last season, Loan Miley has stepped up and hasn't looked out of place once. The 17-year-old plays with maturity and intelligence that deceives you into thinking he is much younger. Loan Miley is already a very skilled player in 2024. Will surely be his breakthrough year. He will undoubtedly become an extremely valuable member of Newcastle United in the future with game time. With game time. And Eddie Howe's supervision. So he's been under Eddie Howe's supervision this year, but he just hasn't had the game time. So speaking of game time, let's look at Newcastle, because this is where we'll get to talk about the squad a little bit more and why maybe perhaps where Loan Miley hasn't played, or maybe he should have played. You guys let me know. So let me share with you guys. I've broken down, and you guys would have seen me do this before. When we're looking at Newcastle squad depth, I always like to look at Newcastle's squad depth through the eye of minutes played, because minutes played for me is an indicator of who's important to the team, and therefore who's not important or who's not necessarily playing, where there are gaps and what needs to be filled. So Newcastle, I've played 42 games up to this point of the season, and the highest minutes played are by Dan Burn, 3,500, which is about 3,500 minutes. Or he's played 3,524 minutes. So I've broken it down, as I always do, in 500s. So we start with the players that play between 3,500 and 3,000 minutes. Those are the players that we depend on highly, high dependency there. Then we go down to the next group of between 3,000 and 2,500. That's the core squad. So guys that still play pretty much every game, but are able to we're able to kind of rotate a little bit more. So on average, these guys play between 64 to 71 minutes per game, whereas the guys at the high dependency we're playing 71 to 84 minutes per game. They kind of we're going to talk about those guys in detail in a moment. I just want to talk about how it's broken down. Then it goes into 2,500 minutes to 2,000 minutes are key contributors. Again, guys that are playing roughly playing 58 minutes. You've got Jacob Murphy and Nick Pope there. And then it goes to 2,000 minutes and to 1,500 minutes, Harvey Barnes and Kieran Trippier. Again, kind of a little bit less involved coming in. So, for instance, Harvey Barnes has been coming in and playing for Gordon. He's had a good run in the game, got assist against Villa as well. As well as other kind of last 5 games, goals and assists against Palace, against Man United, been doing really, really well against West Ham as well. So kind of coming in, so those kind of see them as our regular contributors. Then you've got the squad players who are playing between 1,500 minutes to 1,000 minutes, Willock, Longstaff and Dubravka. And you get slower still because Miley's still not there. Between 1,000 minutes to 500 minutes, squad and development players, Emil Kraft, Lloyd Kelly, who's obviously we've sold him. So he's played about 596 minutes. Emil Kraft played 625 minutes, still more minutes than Loan Miley. And this is the part where we get to Loan Miley. These are the guys that play between 0 to 500 minutes. So these are like our are fringe and development players. And this is where Lewis Miley is at the moment. So let me make sure you guys can see this, because I kind of talked about it quite a bit. Good. Oh, it's a bit small though. Is it a bit small? No, it's okay. It's fine. This is where Lewis Miley is. Lewis Miley has played 457 minutes. Like I said, guys, I don't include the Premier League 2 stats. So he's played 457 minutes, and the company he's keeping at the moment is Miguel Almiron, who we sold, so that doesn't really count. Sven Botman, who's been injured for most of the season, 412 minutes. Otherwise Sven Botman wouldn't be there. He'll be with a core group or with a high dependency group, so he wouldn't be there. William Osola, another fellow development player, who some might argue they would also like to see more of, rather than Callum Wilson coming on. He's played 372 minutes, which is another thing. Callum Wilson, who we've just been talking about, who's been injured quite a bit. Well, at the start of the season, obviously he's come back into it now. He's played 344 minutes. Very much seen as at the moment, is our second striker. He's seen as the second striker over Sola as a third striker. I think that will change next season. I do think he's going to get a new contract. But again, very much a fringe player. Matt Target, who I just think he's out of favour. So this group does consist of players that are out of favour. We know that he's out of favour because Eddie Howe prefers to play a right back in Tino at left back, rather than play an actual left back in Matt Target. And so that's how we know he's out of favour. For a guy that we pay £50 million for, we'd rather not even see him play at starting as a left back. So that's how he knows out of favour. And Vladik Armas, who is a PSR signing, played 45 minutes. So realistically, in this fringe and development group, the guy that you're really looking at is Lewis Miley, Osola, and Callum Wilson. Others have either been sold, or are injured, are PSR, or out of favour. So it's not really the group that you want to be a part of at this time. Now, Lewis Miley is 43 minutes away from being 500 minutes or more, but he's very much, we know he's a development player, but this is a lot less minutes than he played last season. We know because of injuries, but that's where he is at the moment in terms of game time, and that's an indicator perhaps also of his importance currently in this squad at the moment. And it goes back to that original quote from Fabrizio Romano, as he's not getting past this midfield three. And kind of to add a wider perspective to the kind of a conclusive perspective to our overall depth at the moment for Newcastle United's team, we have 24 players listed in terms of the minutes played, but only 16 have played more than 500 minutes. Now, I have to even adjust that, because it's not 16, because Lloyd Kelly no longer plays for Newcastle. He's coming at Juventus. So that's 15. So that's 15 players at the moment who are playing 500 or more minutes. So our squad, our actual squad, yes, 24 are listed, but our actual squad is very thin. At the moment, Eddie Howe is showing trust in 15 players, indicating that Newcastle's effective squad depth for meaningful contribution is limited to, well, it says 16 players, but it's 15 players at this moment in time, right? And if you look at about the midfield, we're going to skip the defense and the attack at the moment, but the midfield is where we've got probably the most strength and depth. So the strength obviously is in Gomeres, Joe Linton, and Tonali, but the depth comes from Longstaff and Willock. So if you look at Longstaff and Willock's minutes, obviously we know that Miley's on 457 minutes. Longstaff is currently on 1,200 minutes. He's very much a squad player, and he's with Joe Willock, who's also on about 1,300 minutes. The difference I can see at the moment when you look at Longstaff, Joe Willock, and between those two and Miley is obviously experience and age, and perhaps why Eddie Howe is preferring to either get to start more games, but also have more minutes if they come on and appears as subs. And I can only see that, for instance, Joe Willock came on in the League Cup final as well. I think that boils down to experience, and maybe Eddie Howe knowing that he needs to make sure he wins games, that he's preferring to play those guys at the moment above Lewis Miley. So Joe Willock and Longstaff are more in Eddie Howe's thoughts when he's bringing in, when he's thinking about if he needs to make a rotation, if he needs to make a sub. It's Joe Willock and Sean Longstaff who come first to his mind, rather than Lewis Miley at this stage. And so Lewis Miley's got the same amount of minutes as Usola at the moment as well. So that's where you can kind of see the frustration, maybe if you're Lewis Miley, in the fact that not only are you behind this midfield three in Tonali, Gomes, and in Joe Linton, but you're also behind the guys that are in the part of the core squad rotating behind Sean Longstaff and Miley. Now, this is where I kind of talk about a little bit more in terms of the future for Newcastle United, where in the short-term future, if we're looking at it now, Newcastle have 5 games to play, 5 games where we just did the prediction, they have to, that are essentially 5 cup finals. Jason Tindall called it cup finals. And I don't see Jason Tindall and Eddie Howe using Lewis Miley in this short term, in these 5 games, in these 5 cup finals, to get Newcastle over the line in this Champions League. They're going to rely on their first team midfielders in Tonali, Gomes, and Joe Linton. And they're going to then go to Willock and Sean Longstaff when they need to, as their primary rotational players rather than Lewis Miley. So in the short term, I wouldn't be surprised if Miley's minutes remain where they are at the moment. So it's interesting to me. Miley would know this, and I would have thought that people in his camp would probably know this if they're looking at it. So it's interesting to me that whoever leaked this information, like I said, I believe it's someone from Miley's camp who leaked this information, that they would choose this time to do it. I think this was released maybe a day before the Aston Villa game. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. It's not a great time to release something like this, but at the same time, maybe it's a great time for them, where they're already planning for the summer window. Is it a case where maybe they know that Newcastle are planning to loan him out, and they're kind of setting out their store early? Or are they worried that Newcastle don't want to loan him out? They want to keep him in the squad next season and continue to slowly rotate him in. And because I believe next season, or in the summer transfer window, I believe, if I look at it, this is probability of exit and including loans or sales. And you guys would have seen this before, I think Sean Longstaff will be sold this summer. And so that would leave just Joe Willock and Lewis Miley. So you can imagine that if Sean Longstaff's already got 1,200 minutes and probably will end the season on 1,200 minutes, or possibly 1,300 minutes, that if we're going to the next season, Lewis Miley is the person that's going to take up those minutes and will be slowly integrating in that way. And maybe that's the plan for Newcastle, where Lewis Miley becomes that rotational player. I hope we get another player, a midfielder in that position, in as a versatile player as well, to take over, to replace Sean Longstaff. But Lewis Miley is ahead of that person as well. That's what maybe Newcastle were planning to do. But with this leak, it kind of gives the impression of Lewis Miley, or someone from Lewis Miley's camp, don't believe that Lewis Miley would ever get in front of those front three so long as they're there. And Newcastle aren't planning to sell, wouldn't, if they could help it, wouldn't sell those guys. So it feels like that whoever's in his camp is already angling for a move. The other players that I think are of medium risk, for instance, of an exit or a sell is Joe Willock. And at the lower end is Bruno Guimaraes. If those guys get sold, I think that, again, has an impact on Lewis Miley and, what his place in the squad could be next season. I think there's a very low risk chance of Bruno going or any of our first team midfielders going. I think there's a medium risk of Joe Willock perhaps going, where I think he's had a number of seasons to kind of prove, can he take Joe Linton's place? I think the answer to that is no. And really, for a team to develop, you need the guys that are the depth currently being able to succeed or overtake the guys that are at the top. I don't think Joe Willock's going to do that. I don't think Joe Willock, in my opinion, is going to be better than Joe Linton. But if Joe Willock has got 2 years still left, I think Eddie Howe values him. I think the club values him. I value him as a fan. I don't think Newcastle definitely aren't looking to loan him out. And unless an offer of, I would say, 20, 25 million or above comes in, I don't think Newcastle will sell him. I think they'll much prefer to sell Sean Longstaff, who's in a 1-year contract currently left as well. So I don't see, that's why I've got Joe Willock as a medium risk. I've put Lewis Miley as high risk on the back of more as a loan, because I think the better option for Lewis Miley and for Newcastle United is that Lewis Miley goes out and earns his stripes abroad, or for a team where that's challenging, preferably abroad, in Germany, Dortmund, for instance, who play in Europe, who have a very, very good track record of developing youngsters like Jude Bellingham, like Erling Haaland. And I think if Lewis Miley goes away, earns his stripes, learns to play week in, week out, sometimes twice a week, maybe even 3 times a week in domestic competitions as a first team in the league in Europe, and kind of earning his stripes, earning his way, that it sets him in good stead to come back the year after, obviously, for Newcastle's 26-27 campaign, in a position where maybe we move on Bruno Guimaraes, or God willing, obviously I hope these guys stay forever, but if there's a midfielder then it does get sold on, but hopefully we've got a more ready-made Lewis Miley, in my opinion. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think so far about this? I was planning to show you the profile of other midfielders that I think could come in as well. In the meantime, I won't be able to show the profile, but I'll kind of show my idea a bit further off still. But before I do that, let me just see what you guys are saying. Obojog profile-wise, he's faster than Mikel Merino. He is faster. He's more athletic than Mikel Merino. Obojog, you should show your academy more love. Okay, especially those prospects on the verge of breaking into the first team. Yeah, look, I can see what you're saying. You have to understand, Obojog, that Newcastle's academy is far back in its development compared to your Arsenals and your Cities. In fact, we had scrapped our academy under Kevin Keegan, and it was pretty much at the bottom of Mike Ashley's thoughts in his 14-year tenure here. And apart from Andy Carroll and maybe a few others, perhaps, probably just Andy Carroll comes to my mind, we haven't had much players coming out of our academy. And those that were prospects didn't end up staying at Newcastle. They went to other teams. So our academy is now being built back up under the leadership of Steve Harper, who's doing a good job. And it's becoming a lot more recognized, and a lot more young players. We're buying tons of young players. Antonio Cordero recently as well. But we're just working our way back. So we're not at the level of your Arsenals, your Liverpools and Cities at the moment in the production of our academy players at the moment. Lewis Miley is our leading light. But I guess in the context of everything that we're doing at the moment is that Lewis Miley is coming into a very strong midfield, as was said. And in the short term, we're competing, trying to get into the Champions League. He's not going to be playing anymore this season as well. So it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. You also say, Robert Jog also says, it's more likely a loan to RB Leipzig with Xavi Simons leaving than a Dortmund loan. It could be, and I wouldn't mind, so long as he gets to have that experience of being a first teamer, playing week in, week out, maybe twice a week, sometimes maybe three times a week, domestic, competing in the league, competing in domestic cups, competing in Europe, having that experience and hopefully earning the right to be called a first teamer in those teams. And so he can come back a man, essentially, is what I'd hope for for Lewis Miley, to be honest. My initial thoughts, now that we're talking about it, in terms of Lewis Miley, was to have him. Where is it? Was to have him. Let me put this down. Like I said, to have like a Phil Foden, Pep Guardiola situation where we're racing through the ranks, but maybe for the ultimate benefit of Newcastle United and for Lewis Miley, he needs to earn his stride. So I wanted to show what my initial thoughts were. Let me just show you my lineup build. Hopefully it's still on, because sometimes it comes off, which is annoying. So this is what I was hoping for, like slowly but surely. Make sure you guys can see this. Where next season, with the sale of Sean Longstaff, Lewis Miley would be the key rotational player, and at the moment, probably get up to between 1,000 plus minutes, between 1,000 and 1,500 minutes. So playing in the more cup competitions, playing in Europe, obviously with us. And we're going to be playing more games anyway. We're guaranteed to be playing 5+ more games this time next season. So, for instance, at the moment we're on 42 games, because obviously we made it to the League Cup final, we made it to the quarterfinal of the FA Cup. So we take our domestic trophies really, really seriously. But if you add Europe onto this, if say it's Champions League, even if we were to go out in the group stage, we would have still played like 5 or 6 games more. So we would have played up to 48, maybe 50 games at this point this season. So Lewis Miley, if he stays with Newcastle, doesn't go out on loan, God willing, doesn't get sold, would have played between 1,200 to 1,500 minutes easy, earning his way in terms of his value and importance to the team. Playing, rotating with Bruno, rotating with Tonali, for instance, and doing it that way. But I'm beginning to think that maybe a better solution for Lewis Miley and for Newcastle is for him to be loaned out for a year, like you mentioned, the Wilbur, maybe to an RB Leipzig, maybe to a Dortmund. So what did I want to show? I wanted to show maybe that, where is it? I wanted to share my screen. Let me put this away. Maybe he goes away. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe he goes away. Where are you? He goes away to Dortmund or RB Leipzig. We still sell Sean Longstaff. We keep Willock, and that leaves us though with 4 midfielders. So we will need to get another player from abroad. And I was going to talk about the profiles. I'll probably do in the second part of the show. I have got Lamine Camara here from Monaco, and I've got Matheus Fernandes. And I'll pick this up in our second show, really. I'll talk about Lamine Camara and I'll talk about Matheus Fernandes. Both young players. If I talk briefly about Lamine Camara, who plays for Monaco, so he's kind of had the reverse experience of what Miley's had, which is this year he has played let me show you. Let me put up scorecard so you guys have a feel for what I'm talking about. He has played in Europe. He's pretty much a first teamer at Monaco. So let me show you guys. Stop sharing this. Share this instead. Let me get this for you guys. Maybe this is a better way to kind of even do it, actually. So I've got Matheus Fernandes and Lamine Camara. So Lamine Camara has played 26 games for Monaco this season. That's just in the league. This is not counting. He's played in. In fact, he's seen. Let me get Lamine Camara up on the. Let me share this tab instead. And next show, I'll talk about his profile in more depth. Let me show you guys. So he's played 26 games in the league. He's 21 years old. So he's had, like I said, he's had the reverse experience of Loan Miley this season, where he's been a main starter for Monaco this season. He has played in 26 games in the league, and he has played, or 28 games now. He's played 26 games in Ligue 1, but he's played 9 games in the Champions League. That's incredible experience there. And he has played, obviously, in the domestic cup competition. So he's played overall 2,500 minutes of game time, about 2,000 more minutes than Loan Miley, right? And if we were to bring in, for instance, Lamine Camara, with that experience, he's kind of had like I said, the reverse experience of Miley, but he's coming from a foreign league, where if he were to come into our season, into our team after the summer, into next season, he can have the rotational experience of, obviously, where it's a lot more kind of a slower, more careful integration into our team, because he's got to get used to the culture, the speed of the league, the squad itself, the team. But he brings with him that experience of playing every other week, playing in domestic cups, playing in Europe, playing in obviously in the league itself. And for a team that's been chasing the Champions League spot as well, I think Monaco will qualify for the Champions League this season as well. And then the season afterwards, you can have a situation where you've got a Lamine Camara with that season experience, and now Loan Miley coming back after earning his experience at Dortmund, RB Leipzig, where he would have played 2 or 3 times a week, Europe, domestic competitions, league as well, chasing Champions League and the team that he's with, playing with high caliber players week in, week out. And now you've got 2 experienced youngsters in Lamine Camara, for instance, and in Loan Miley, playing for Newcastle United. And I think that would benefit Loan Miley, and I think that would benefit Lamine Camara. And to speak, that's what my thoughts are. That's the better deal. In between that time, though, obviously, in next season, you've got Lamine Camara rotating over on our team. Now, we'll still be a player short, because I'm sure Longstaff would have been sold. But that's what my thoughts are about Matheus Cunha. Obviously, Matheus Cunha, and I'll show this clip in a moment, has been, we know, has been in the last couple of days. I know we'll talk about today. That's just happened as well. It's been big news for Manchester United. They're supposed to be leading the race. They're doing this. He wants to play for them. He doesn't want to play for us. All this type of conversations. He's going to be any minute now when they're going to announce him. He's going to be standing outside Old Trafford with the flag up. We talked about our news tier 1 journalists obviously talked on the last couple of days that he is a priority for Newcastle United, and he's a priority because of his versatility. He obviously plays mainly across the front 3, but he also plays in the midfield role. So you can have a situation where you've got Loan Miley away on loan with a Lamine Camara, for instance, or Matheus Fernandes, together with Joe Willock, who's still at the club, and with a Matheus Cunha who's able to rotate and fill in, rotate maybe with Bruno Gomes, Lamine Camara, Matheus Fernandes rotate with Tonali, and Joe Willock continues to rotate with Joe Linton. So that will be the kind of the ideal situation. Now there's a big if in that. Obviously, that being the news that, and I'll share this, the news that Fabrizio Romano has said that Cunha is keen on Man United, and Man United are the more likely candidates for him. Let's actually hear what Matheus Cunha said. Let me find, because he had an interview with Ben Jacobs where he talked about this. So let me just get onto it. It's a Market Madness podcast. So let me share this with you, and you guys can all tell me what you think. Project. Okay. So let me make sure you guys can see this. You can see it. I'll play the interview, because my initial thought is that, where is it? Fabrizio isn't saying that. He's quite careful, he's diplomatic in what he's saying. But I'll let you guys tell me if I can remember. Can I get it? Where is it? Okay, so hopefully I remember where it is as well.
United, that boost and the momentum to themselves go all the way. So I don't know what you think. My expectation now is Man United and Spurs are in this Europa League final, and one of them, therefore, is about to save their season.
You guys hear that? Let me know in the chat.
One of them will be finishing in the bottom half of the table and potentially making it into the Champions League. I mean, if they get there, of course. But yeah, I just think that would be typical Manchester United. I've seen them do it, man, with the FA Cup, you know. And
let me get what Mr. Fabrizio Romano says. Is this the one?
Is going to still happen, and is there any possibility that Alexander-Arnold might change?
Because they're talking about Alexander-Arnold here. Cunha, here we go. This is what Romano says about Cunha.
He decided to sign it.
And just last up, Fabrizio, Matheus Cunha.
So let me show you guys can hear it. Yeah, we can. Good. Thank you, Obadok, for that. So this is what Mr. Romano says. Now, I do not understand that Romano has also been reposting stuff that kind of supports what people are saying around Cunha preferring Man United, but I think he's a wise man and he's been very diplomatic. So let me share this with you guys. This is what he actually said, and this is where you get the quotes that you're seeing, all the quotes on X. You're seeing all the I almost want to say propaganda, but fine. This is what he actually says, and let me know what you guys think.
Linked with Manchester United and Newcastle, do you see his most likely destination as within the Premier League? And a bit like Dean Howson, could this be quite a quick deal because there's a 62.5 million release clause, and seemingly both player and Wolves would like this resolved in the earlier?
So, what's his most likely destination? Is it going to be like in the Premier League? Could this be a quick deal? And we know that Wolves want it to be a quick deal. What can happen? Where's Matheus Cunha going to go? Ben Jacobs asked Fabrizio Romano these questions. It's important to know this because that's how it's been framed. Is he likely to be in the Premier League? Not likely to be in Man United. Is he likely to be in the Premier League? Is this likely to be a quick deal? Is it going to be similar to Elise last season? You guys remember the Elise deal. You know, there was a release clause. There was about 5-6 clubs lined up, including Newcastle United, but it was done very, very quickly because of this release clause. Is it likely to be matched? So these are the three things to remember.
Be a part of the window.
Yeah, I think it can be a quick deal, to be honest. I think so. So let's see how quick, but I think this can be a quick deal because, as you mentioned, there is a release clause and all parties involved, the player, club, they really want to resolve the situation as soon as possible.
So yes, it can be a quick deal. Everybody wants to resolve this pretty quickly. Okay.
Possible. So I think it can be a quick deal. There is genuine interest from Newcastle. They really, really like the player. They believe he could be perfect for their style and similar.
So Newcastle do want this player. I know people are now saying it's unlikely in Newcastle. He's never a priority. This, that, and the other. It still may be true. Fabrizio might have got this wrong, but for Fabrizio's point of view, what he's saying, what he's putting out there, this is their target. And this is obviously supported by a couple of days earlier when Craig Hope put it out there that Cunha is Newcastle's #1 target. There is strong interest. Here we go.
Similar to Manchester United, there is an appreciation, but for Man United, again, the budget is going to be important.
There's the key thing. Let me rewind that for you guys. For Man United are very, very interested, but for Man United, the budget is the key thing.
Involved, the player, club, they really want to resolve the situation as soon as possible. So I think it can be a quick deal. There is genuine interest from Newcastle. They really, really like the player. They believe he could be perfect for their style. And similar to Manchester United, there is an appreciation, but for Man United, again, the budget is going to be important. So I think for Man United, it could take a bit more time to understand how much they can really invest.
Right. So for Man United, it's going to take a little bit more time to understand how much they can invest. This is what's been left out, a lot of the quotes at the moment.
On new signings in the summer transfer window, but for sure there is genuine interest. I think
Newcastle. So not just okay. He's about to say it here. So not just Man United situation with Matheus Cunha, but Man United situation also with their other signings. He's not gonna. They've got the lap. They're looking at a lot of players, right? So, but the main thing is for them to sort out their own financial situation. Newcastle's financial situation is sorted. Newcastle are ready to flick that release clause the moment the transfer window opens up. Will Man United be? Will Man United first have to offload players before they're in that position? Now Fabrizio is about to go back to Newcastle, and let's see what he says.
But for sure there is genuine interest. I think Newcastle, in terms of interest in this moment, are a bit more aggressive because they consider Matheus Cunha as a perfect player for Eddie.
I think at this moment in time, Newcastle United are a bit more aggressive than Man United. They're a bit more aggressive because he's their #1 player. He's their #1 target. What that looks like on the ground, I assume they're talking to his agent. I assume they're talking directly to Wolves. I am going to assume that they're saying to Wolves, we can pay that release clause. We're ready to go. We don't need to do what. This is my assumption. I know that Man United put it out there. We can pay the release clause. We'll probably pay a little bit more. We've done it before with, I think, with Lenny Euro. We'll pay a little bit more, but over a longer period of time. So the payments are broken down a little bit more, but we're paying a little bit more. I think Newcastle could just pay the money. Let's go back a little bit. So Newcastle, to what he's saying, Newcastle are a bit more aggressive. He is their #1 target, according to Fabrizio Romano and to Craig Hope, for all the guys out there saying he's not really. Like, I know a few people are saying that he's not really. He is. And for folks who are wondering how I'm gone from Loan Miley to Matheus Cunha, my belief is that although Matheus Cunha can play across the front three, he can cover the midfield roles as well. Rotate with Bruno Gomes, for instance. But so while Loan Miley does go out on loan, for instance, it gives Newcastle the option of bringing another midfielder in, selling Sean Longstaff, bringing another midfielder in like Lamine Camara, and keep Joe Willock and send Loan Miley out on loan. Bring in Matheus Cunha. He'll cover the front three. He'll cover the midfield as well. Rotate with the guys there. Have the new midfielder, also another new midfielder like Lamine Camara, Mateus Fernandes, to come and rotate with Tonali, and keep Joe Willock to rotate with Joe Linton. I think that helps Newcastle continue to build and develop their squad. in the short term, medium term, and long term for Newcastle United. But let's go back to what to what Fabrizio Romano was saying, why Newcastle are more aggressive, because nobody's putting out those posts. Newcastle's propaganda machine is nowhere near as big as Newcastle United. Newcastle United's propaganda machine is nowhere as big as Man United's propaganda machine.
In terms of interest in this moment, are a bit more aggressive because they consider Matheus Cunha as a perfect player for Eddie Howe, and so I think they can really go strong on this one. But again, from United there is interest, and so with a close, anything can happen.
And just before I let you go, Fabrizio,
no one's if anybody's reading the quotes at the moment that's on X and everybody else, it's just Man United. He just wants to go to Man United. Matheus Cunha just wants to. And look, it might be the case. It might be the case. But if all the quotes are being used from this interview, as I've seen, right? Because I don't know where all the other journalists are getting the information. Maybe someone is sitting next to Cunha and Cunha is saying to them, I'm telling you, I want to go to Man United. He might be doing that. But if from the quotes I've seen that are using Fabrizio Romano's quote, which he has reposted himself, to be honest, from this interview is what they get is that Matheus Cunha is definitely, Man United are definitely in pole position or in advanced stages. The deal could be agreed at any moment, and they're getting it from this interview of Fabrizio Romano. I think they're wrong. I think from what I can hear, from the impression I get from Fabrizio Romano is, hey, he's definitely, Man United are definitely interested, but it's Newcastle, but they have to sort out their financial situation. I.e., they have to make player sales, or obviously, he hasn't said this part, but another way to sort out the financial situation is go win the conference, the Europa League, and qualify for the Champions League. So and I know the conversations, because now it's been worded on X in terms of like, hey, Cunha will come to Man United. They don't need Champions League. They need Champions League because maybe Cunha doesn't care whether Man United have Champions League or not, but Man United care if they got Champions League, because if Man United don't have Champions League, they have to. They're not going to get that revenue from the Champions League, and they have to rely on player sales. So they're at the mercy of buying clubs, of other buying clubs, on whether they can shift those players. That's not a good position to be in, and that also puts you with a disadvantage where, like I said, the moment that transfer window is open, Newcastle can call up Wolves and trigger that release clause on day one. It doesn't appear, from what I can hear in this interview, that Man United are in that same position to do that. So Matheus Cunha, for me, it's still an open market. It's still an open race, and I think Newcastle United can get him. I still can get him. I'm still in that race to do so. But let me know what you guys are saying in the chat. What's you guys' thoughts on this so far? Let me see now. So and I'm going to go back to seeing what I think, and I'll show you guys what I think maybe our team could look like before I wrap up next season. It's more like learn to RB. Yeah, we can. Let me know what remind me what we were talking about before. My apologies. Obajog, what I dislike a bit about Romano, he's almost a pre-initial negotiation step. Okay, Romano tweet, initial information, contact, and official club-to-club negotiations, but he's considered a journalist. So let me understand that again. What I dislike about Romano, he's almost a pre-initial negotiation step. He's almost a pre-initial negotiation step. Romano tweets, initial information, contact, then official club-to-club negotiations, but he's considered a journalist. Let me know what you mean by that. Informal contact. What I dislike about Romano is he's almost a pre-initial negotiations that Romano's tweet, initial information contact, then official club-to-club negotiations. Are you saying that he's he's not legit because he's kind of does slow reporting, or kind of clarify that a little bit for me, Wobblejob, because it's difficult being a transfer journalist as well, because things can change. You can get told by a club with definitely, I think, for instance, Man United at initial formal contact. Okay, what I dislike about Romano, he's almost a pre-initial negotiation step. Romano tweet, initial informal contact, then official club-to-club negotiations, but he's considered the journalist. I'll say what I think you mean, which is, and you can clarify, I think it's difficult being a transfer journalist because you're going to get, like, I think, for instance, Man United are telling him, yeah, he's, Matheus Cunha, he said that he definitely wants Man United no matter what happens, type of thing. He's probably not getting anything from Matheus Cunha's camp. I'll be surprised, I'll be shocked if Matheus Cunha and his camp are telling Fabrizio, tell them I want to go to Man United. Because if he's telling them that, he's then cut off all other possible opportunities, an opportunity for a better wage or a better club or club in a better position than Man United by doing that. So I'll be surprised that he also puts himself at the mercy of Man United, who could change their mind during the transfer window if they find a better deal, or say to him, hey, we're the only club that now wants you because you said you want us. We're going to give you less than what we previously agreed to. So I highly doubt Matheus Cunha's camp are saying to Fabrizio Romano, I definitely want to go to Man United. I think they're keeping Sturm. I think it's Man United, and I think Fabrizio Romano made another tweet saying, the feeling that Man United have is that Cunha wants to go to them. That's what Man United feel. I bet the guys at Newcastle have the same kind of feeling, but they're not putting it out there. I bet there's other clubs that have the same kind of feeling. No, Matheus Cunha wants to come to us. He's being wise. He's giving all these other clubs the feeling that he might go there. They will know where he chooses to go by his actions, by who he says yes to. So I don't think it's as far gone as some sources from Man United in particular are wanting us to believe as well. So that's kind of my situation. Robojog, i.e. in Lewis's situation, it's players camp. Okay, i.e. in Lewis' situation, it's players camp sounding out potential interested clubs versus Ornstein is more of a in-club information passed to him about transfers. Okay, so Ornstein gets more of his information from clubs, whereas Fabrizio Romano gets his club's information from the players' club. I think Fabrizio gets his information from clubs and from players. So, like, talking about the Cunha situation, I think from how Fabrizio is talking, he's getting his information directly from the Man United camp to be able to know about, hey, who they're targeting, but also looking at what about their financial situation. They're saying is, hey, for them to say, as long as we get our player sales done, then we're looking at we'll bring Mr. Cunha in. I think that's from the club, because that'll be odd if Matheus's camp are saying to Fabrizio, yeah, if Man United are able to make sales, then they'll go. Then they're gonna go for me. It feels a bit weird. It feels a bit unusual. I think that's a better word. It's unusual for a player to say that. I think why say it in the first place, you kind of come off as desperate, right? So it doesn't, especially at this time. So I'll be surprised if Matheus is doing that. So I think he is getting his information from the clubs. So before I wrap up, this is what, and I'm going to do a player profile for Lamine Camara and Matheus Fernandes to kind of really bring this hope, what I'm saying. I'm going to do this in the next show. But let me show you in the current term what I think Newcastle might be heading to. So at the moment, obviously, I've got Miley up here as well. So make sure you guys can see that. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can see that. So obviously, Tonali, Joe Linton, and Bruno Gomes stay. I've got Miley going out on loan. And for the sake of argument, it might not be Lamine Camara, but a player like him, Matheus Fernandes, another Matheus, or a player of that profile and experience of a Lamine Camara who's been playing regular football, domestic competitions in Europe as well, like a Monaco, ideal player with a lot of minutes in his legs this season, 2,500 minutes, 8-9 games in the Champions League, 26 games in his league, I think is ideal. Have him play, rotate. In fact, obviously we sell. Let me put him with Tonali. So rotate. So have him. Obviously we sell Longstaff. So let me go to the bench and sell Longstaff. Remove Longstaff. Put Kamara there. Oh, put Kamara there. Done. So, and then we'll keep Bruno. So remove him from here. I'll change it around a little bit. Remove that. Bruno here. So my ideal situation is obviously, and then have someone of the versatility of a Cunha. It doesn't have to be Cunha. I know I spent a lot of time about to say it doesn't have to be Cunha, but you can see here, even from what they've said, Cunha's versatility is immense. It's absolutely immense. He can play in that cam role. So we've sold Sean Longstaff, we've loaned out Miley, knowing that in next year or plus time he comes back, he leaves a boy and he comes back a man with the same kind of, hopefully with the same kind of minutes and game time and experience as Lamine Camara has this year, where he's played 20, 25, 30 plus games in the league, whether it's the Bundesliga, for instance, where he's played 8 or 9 Champions League games as a starter, where he's played in domestic competitions as a starter, for instance, where he's got 2,500 to 3,000 minutes. The boy, he comes back, he leaves a boy and he comes back a man. But in the meantime, in the medium-term future, which is next season for Newcastle United, we've brought in a Lamine Camara, who's having the reverse experience, where he's had that time that we're giving Loan Miley now, and he's now rotating with Tonali. Tonali is obviously playing most games as well, but he's coming in as a sub. He's playing in domestic competitions. He plays in the game after we go to Europe, for instance. So we play Real Madrid on a Wednesday or a Tuesday. We've got a game on Saturday, which Lamine Camara takes over and plays, maybe starts the game and plays. And we've got Matheus Cunha, who can play in advanced position in the cam role as well. So really, you can have some games. You can have some games where, let me change it around, where you can have a situation like this. Let me put Cunha. Then we've got Mr. Bruno on the bench. And for all of the guys that are sticking to the show, thank you so much. Good to have you. God bless you guys. So you've got Matheus Cunha there. Can I rotate like this? No, I can't. So let me take down Tonali. We're going to have games where Tonali's on the bench, but he's mixing. But we've got an experienced youngster in Lamine Camara. He steps in to play against Burnley. Maybe we'll keep Joe Linton on for consistency. I think this works for Newcastle. It would be an ideal situation where the sky is blue and the grass is green. But I wouldn't be surprised if again, that's why I think, even though some people disagree, and I get that, it's a great conversation, where I do think Acuna or someone of his profile would be an ideal situation where it allows Loan Miley to go and earn his stripes, allows us to bring in another youngster who could be our future player in our midfield, and puts us in a situation where a year plus down the line, 2 years down plus the line, we've got a Lewis Miley, a Lamine Camara profile type of player with experience. And if we've got a, maybe Bruno sees more of the bench by that time, or somebody else does, or we're able to move somebody else on and continue that growth and that development in our squad. So let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to kind of really hone in on the profiles of Lamine Camara and Matheus Fernandes, who I think are terrific talents. But I will do that in the next show. So make sure you guys are there on Thursday. But let me know what you guys think. Where do you see Lewis Miley's future? I've got one more. I've got one chat here from Wobajog as well. Wobajog. Maybe I'm wrong on how I see him, but there's a difference between him and Ornstein, but both are transfer journalists. Look, absolutely. People just might see things differently. No one has to be wrong or right about this as well, but I see them both as tier 1 journalists, and some people might rate one or the other. It's interesting, though, that somebody from Lewis's camp chose Fabrizio in releasing this information. And maybe, like you said, why did they choose maybe Fabrizio rather than Ornstein? Maybe Ornstein would want to double check it a little bit more. I think they chose someone that they feel maybe is a little bit more distant from Newcastle directly, or might not necessarily match, make the connection between who's spilling the beans from Lewis's camp or not. It's an interesting thing. So guys, I'm going to wrap up the show. We've covered so much ground today. This is the longest show I've ever done, really. But you guys have stuck with me, and I really appreciate you for that. We did the match reaction to the Aston Villa game. Aston Villa were deserved victors in that, in their tackling, in their winning their duels and running behind and causing absolute confusion and mayhem and everything else to our backline and getting the wins over us. We did also a prediction with the activity where we did a prediction for the Champions League as well. I've got Newcastle finishing 5th on 72 points with Forest, Man City as well. So if that happens, I'm going to go back to this show and tell you how great I am. If it doesn't, then I'm going to delete it. But no, that was fun. And thank you, Bobby Fairview, for sending that through to us, that activity. And I got to talk to you guys about Lewis Miley and kind of get to see, we talked about, his future. I think the ideal situation is for Lewis Miley to go abroad, to earn his stripes, for the boy to become a man, to play week in and week out, get his experience, play for a team like an RB Leipzig or a Dortmund, where he can play in Europe, compete for Champions League qualification or even the league, if that happens, compete on domestics, trophies, and play in Europe at the same time, play 1-2 games a season, be the first teamer, and come back to Newcastle United as a man. And when Eddie Howe's looking at who to choose or to who to rely on, he has more certainty when he's doing that. So that would be my ideal situation for Lewis Miley. But my overriding ambition is for Newcastle United. So let me know what you guys think of that. And like I said, in the next show, we're going to look at the profile of Lamine Camara and Matheus Fernandes, and maybe another player, depends, and see what you guys think. So I want to thank Bobby Fairview for sharing the predictor table, but being here as well, even up to this time. I think you already said here, great show, Philip. You do have the endurance, mate. Appreciate you for that. Thank you too, sir. Great show, Phil. You too, sir. Thank you, Bobby Fairview, for that, sir. Wilbur, great show, Phil. Till the next one. Yes, I look forward to having you as well. I want to also thank Bobby Fairview. We'll be putting the results at the end of the season. Yeah. Appreciate that. And thank you for Eddie Howe as well. Yeah, we're praying for him. I want to thank Wilbur, Bobby Fairview. I want to thank Adrian Pickett, the Villa fan, for coming on, consistent Mag FC. I want to thank all you guys, Richie T, all the guys that have come in the chats and made it so incredible, so engaging. And as always, folks, make sure you look after each other. Have a great week. And as always, folks, take care of each other. and God bless, folks.